I took the job as a night watchman at the abandoned theme park thinking it would just be an easy paycheck. The park had been closed for years, a remnant of childhood dreams turned into twisted shadows. On my first night, the air was thick with a silence that felt unnatural, as if the world itself was holding its breath. As I made my rounds, the creaking of old rides played tricks on my mind. But it was the carousel that caught my attention, standing eerily still under the moonlight, its painted horses frozen in mid-gallop. I remember joking to myself about the horses coming to life, but deep down, a shiver of unease settled in my bones. Just as I was convincing myself it was all in my head, the carousel began to spin slowly, the grotesque lullaby of its music box echoing through the night. My flashlight flickered, and I felt a chill that seemed to seep from the ground itself. Drawn closer, I noticed the carousel horses' eyes seemed to follow me, their gazes filled with something that felt unsettlingly real. Suddenly, a whisper floated through the air, a child's voice asking if I wanted to ride. Panic surged through me, but my legs refused to move. It was then I realized the figures on the carousel weren't just painted horses, they were people, their features twisted in silent screams. Desperate to understand what was happening, I stumbled back towards the control panel, hoping to stop the ride. But instead of finding the usual levers and switches, there was an inscription carved into the wood that read, "They never left." The carousel spun faster, and the faces of the riders blurred into a nightmarish whirl. Each face was different, yet the same, a parade of lost souls trapped in eternal motion. I could feel their despair, their longing for release. A sense of impending doom washed over me as I realized I was standing on hallowed ground, a place where the boundary between our world and the next had worn thin. In a final, desperate attempt, I yanked the electrical cord from the socket, expecting the ride to slow and stop. Instead, the carousel continued its relentless cycle, the music growing louder, more discordant. It was then I understood, the power wasn't coming from electricity. It was fueled by the souls themselves, their collective energy keeping the ride alive. As the sun began to rise, the carousel finally slowed, and the music faded into the dawn. But I knew I couldn't leave. The park had claimed me as its own, just another watchman shackled to the night, destined to spin with the carousel until someone else took my place.